Coming up on FaceTime.
Cities with heart matter. Open space excellence matters now more than ever. That aren't as fortunate as Guangzhou, that need more guidance on what they might be doing. And as a landscape architect, I was thinking, let's tell these incredible stories in public space, in Guangzhou, in America. She got remarkable pictures, hundreds, if not thousands of pictures from Guangzhou all the way up to Beijing. We've been involved throughout China, but never actually in Guangzhou itself. My ancestor would say to me, Tom, what took you so long?
Thomas Paine, Boston-based historian and landscape architect, made his first visit to Guangzhou in the summer of 2014 for the 230th anniversary of the Empress of China voyage, the first American ship to sail to China, which docked in the port of Guangzhou. Several months later, Paine returned to launch his new book, Cities with Heart. On the last stop of the tour, he made his way to Jinan University, a school founded back in 1906 with a mission to repatriate and educate the Chinese community around the world. On this campus, Thomas found some American connections he'd never seen before.
With Jesse Owens?
Yes.
I'm wondering how they went over by phone.
Wow, that's really cool.
A hidden surprise was this photo of Jesse Owens standing side by side with a Chinese team sent from Jinan University. Jesse Owens is well known in the United States as the Olympic gold medalist who struck a blow to the Nazi Party by dominating the 1936 Berlin Olympics. The highlight of Tom's tour was a speech in the International School of Jinan University. In the speech, he talked about public space. Public space is where stories are lived and told, especially for Guangzhou, the city with 12 million residents and rising pollution. Open green space is more crucial now than ever before.
Cities with heart matter. And why does it matter? Well, open space excellence matters now more than ever. This is one of the reasons I had to write this book, because we live in a world in which, for example, there are over 400 cities or over 1 million people around the world. That's frightening. That's frightening. And when I say 1 million people, I mean a lot of people very crowded together, probably in some parts of the world living like this with no place to go. So what's life like for them? What kind of deal are they getting in a world like that? Well, a crummy one, and it needs to be better. So not having a decent outdoor life is really just not acceptable. And so we have to do better, no matter where we are, and this book is trying to make a difference. But on the other hand, look what we do. And I say we, the designers who assist the local governments and the developers in creating public space. But if we create space like this, that has no people in it, what have we done? Have we made the world a better place? And I would say we made it a worse place, because not only are there no people using this space, there's nothing else happening here they could be doing, plus this is generating heat. And do we need any more heat on this planet? I don't think so. So there's a lot of improvement to be made on the provision of urban public open space, for sure. And then we do things like have inaccessible art, sort of stupid statues that nobody cares about, is boring, so we could talk about that. But for me, here's the issue. We as designers try to show our beautiful designs, but when we photograph them with no people in them, I'm asking, what is wrong with this picture? Where are the people? That's what it's all about, right? So that's what my book's all about. And for everybody who lives in a city where they don't have access to nature, you saw that picture of me as a 10-year-old guy. Lucky me, I got to play in the water with rocks and move them around and splash in the water. Well, I think every child should have a chance to do that, not just me. So why should nature be hidden from people? It should be there. And that's what we're talking about in this book.
Round of applause, Thomas and Paine.
I appreciate they always help you. This means heart. They have a big heart for everybody.
The place where you feel yourself very relaxed, and the place where your soul feel very peaceful.
就是以人为本，他也提到，就是以人为本，真的不是为了建设好看有那个样子。
A city with heart is a city that cares so much about its people that it provides them with the very best in urban public open space where they can live their lives to the full, feeling a sense of community and connection to people with whom they share the life of that city, so that they have a sense of pride in their city, a sense of hope in their own future, and a sense of connection not only to their community, but to a wider world, stimulated by the ideas that originated in their hometown that they're so proud of.
Of course, you can say that Guangzhou is a city of a heart, with a heart that just, if you're looking at a population and if you're looking at people, you think, oh, it's too a lot of people. How you can imagine that it is a city of a heart? But when I first time come to the Guangzhou, I was missing my family very much. But after 2 years living here, I can say that Guangzhou will be placed in my own heart like a something special, and I couldn't forget this experience.
我觉得接近了，但是呢，就是说可能除了这个，我们在公共绿地这些建设方面，就除了真的去把它建设，那么更多的就像他说的，还是要更多的考虑人，更多考虑的文化意义。
One thing I'd like to know is that as a historian and landscape architect, what is your impression of Guangzhou now, coming back as your second time?
I'm delighted to be back to promote my book to a place that already knows about cities with heart, because it does have heart. And my book is for those places that aren't as fortunate as Guangzhou, that need more guidance on what they might be doing. And so it's a pleasure for me to see that when it's done well, everybody's having a good time in a park in Guangzhou.
Now, you've been in the game for a while in terms of city planning. You were working in Taiwan in the late 70s. You've periodically worked in different Chinese cities, Beijing, Shanghai. You have an office in Hong Kong. Your company, Ager, has really been on the map for a while. I want to know what is the attraction to Guangzhou now? What's the appeal right now? Now it's time to move to Guangzhou to do something.
Well, life is opportunistic and serendipitous, and it just turned out that I was able to bring our company to Guangzhou. We've been involved throughout China, but never actually in Guangzhou itself. So that's just the luck of circumstance. And I was able to be involved in a project that was looking at the history, celebrating the history of the first direct contact between Americans and Chinese 230 years ago in Guangzhou, an event that took place in various spaces in the city, some of them still there, some of them not. And as a landscape architect, I was thinking, let's tell these incredible stories in public space, in Guangzhou, in America.
That is a big irony to me, is that you, as one of the overseers of the Massachusetts Historical Society, and you yourself, I'm switching to history now, you have ancestral roots in this city with your ancestor, John Bryant, coming here during the Shisanhang era. What took you so long?
Well, that's what I actually, when I gave my speech in Guangzhou in August, that's what I said. My ancestor would say to me, Tom, what took you so long? That was exactly what he would, I imagine my ancestor saying to me if he could scold me and talk to me. And I honestly can't say. It was just a circumstance in my own personal career. I've been to Zhuhai, I've been to Shenzhen, I've been to Auman, I've been to Shanghai, but I have never before been to Guangzhou, and it was just the mistake of circumstance. But now that I have been here and have had a chance to get familiar with the amazing richness of this city and complexity of it, I think it's what we call the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
When we talk about city planning, China, you've seen it, you've been involved with a lot of projects. Every city in this country has reshaped in some way or form. If we look at the last 10 years, I mean, big major events that have changed the one-tier cities of China, the Olympics in Beijing 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago, 4 years ago, the Asian Games here in Guangzhou, the Shanghai Sibuhui. If you could rewind, where do you see mistakes that were made, or where were the accomplishments? What are the lessons learned from the total reshaping of China in the past 10 years? What worked, what didn't work?
Well, I mean, certainly, whenever you hold an exposition and create a huge sort of campus-like environment, it's very difficult to really think of about what you're going to do with it next and how it can really adapt to the post-exposition time frame, which of course is the rest of time. And so I would say that all expositions, no matter where they're held, always have this problem. What are they going to do afterwards? And just, I've never worked on a project like that, but I would imagine that a large precinct, a large campus-like space that has been an exposition site could lend itself to becoming some sort of campus, either a campus for students or a kind of an innovation startup company incubator campus for entrepreneurship, but it could be a place, a collective community that could use that public space that's so generous in that exposition setting for another life. Has it been done? I'm not sure, but it stands to reason.
Maybe we just, according to Professor Paine, it's very important to have a 10 minutes walk park near your own town. It's very important for children to have place to get in touch with their parents after work, and maybe this park not just 1 hectare or very big, but it just can be a small park with just a place with water, with fishes, with spontaneous, and you can just donation fee or something like that, and have a lot of greens for fresh air, and no car, no bicycles, and no some chaos or something like this. Just to go after work and relax, because the life in Guangzhou is very tense and your whole time is under the pressure.
So I suggest that China should have some big trees in a very big area to get fresh air, because you can see there are a lot of pollution, air pollution, and this is the tree are the main thing they can give you fresh air. So this is good for, because heart need a fresh air.
Thank you.
One of Tom's heroes, Frederick Law Olmsted, is known as the father of landscape architecture, who traveled to Guangzhou as a sailor in the 1830s. Olmsted later became a pioneer of landscape architecture, best known as the brains behind New York's Central Park, Prospect Park, the Biltmore Estate in North Carolina, and Mont Royal in Montreal. During the Qing Dynasty, foreigners were restricted by law to either the Portuguese-controlled Macau, the checkpoint at Huangpu, or the 13 Factories trading area in Guangzhou, where foreign traders were only allowed if hosted by Hong merchants. Here Tom analyzes the journals of Olmsted and makes a bold argument that Olmsted did break the rules and wander into the city limits of Guangzhou. He argues that what Olmsted saw inspired his career in city planning, and even has an impact on city planning in Guangzhou today.
When I was here on August 28th, I was the honored guest of Mayor Chen Zhenhua to a banquet. And he went around the room, and this is in honor of the 230th anniversary of the first contact between China and America in Guangzhou, August 28th, 1784, but it was 2014, 230 years later, and Chen Zhenhua asked everybody to say something. So when it was my turn to speak, I mentioned Olmsted, and I mentioned how he came to Guangzhou and how it meant so much to him, and it influenced his design of Central Park. And I also said, I hope someday Guangzhou will celebrate Olmsted's visit to Guangzhou, because look what came from it. Look what came from it. We could have a place where we can celebrate Olmsted's visit. He comes to Guangzhou, he takes this idea to America, it goes around the world, and guess what? It comes back to China, to Renmin Gongyuan. Exactly, because Olmsted himself used the language, people's parks. That was Olmsted. He said, I want parks for all the people. Renmin Gongyuan. So you could celebrate that in a public space in Guangzhou. And so Mayor Chen Zhenhua, I have to say, he liked it. He liked it a lot. I could tell he liked it. And the next day in the paper, there was an article about it in the Guangzhou Daily. So I think if you get the mayor's attention by good ideas and just some kind of imagination like that, yes, things can happen. That's my thought.
What are, in
Yeah.
your career in China, what are some of the landscaping projects that you're most proud of?
Well, I mean, there are projects that we've done that are all over China. I mean, we've done, I think, an interesting project in Beijing called Jintai Xijiao, which is a way of commemorating the history of a space on a private project, but providing public open space, what I would call a civic plaza, that in a very, sort of using materials in a very modern way, showcases a stone stele from the Qianlong era that was unearthed. It had been lost. Qianlong originally had, I think, 10 or so of these stele all around Beijing, commemorating and marking the 10 most important sites that every visitor should see in Beijing. And I think 8 of them have survived, never having been buried, but 2 got lost. This is one of them, plus or minus. This is one of the ones, and it was unearthed during the course of the private development of this project. And so, time out.
Totally by accident.
It was by accident. So time out, time to regroup, and time to say, wait, the right thing to do is not to simply forget that this is an important spot. It is to commemorate it and to celebrate this local story in public open space, even though it's a private development project where office workers can come and they can have lunch there and they can see this historic artifact that has been preserved. So it's a really, I think, one of the most creative projects we've done, not to boast any further.
The relationship between China and the U.S. began right here in the United States. You have a very close fascination with Sanming Juyi, Dr. Sun Yat-sen, and I want to know, in the last 24 hours, what has inspired you about this city that you want to look more into?
Well, I mean, I want to look more into the history of Sanming Juyi, and I want to see if I can find a place where a public open space could be created, where we could tell this remarkable story that connects our 2 worlds, America and China, with this very powerful idea, which Sanming Juyi, actually, Sun Zhongshan had read the Gettysburg Address, from the finest speech ever given in America, which talks about of the people, by the people, for the people. So, and Sun Zhongshan was inspired by that, and he came up with Sanming Juyi. And I'm thinking, wow, this is an amazing cross-cultural idea that we should be celebrating in both countries globally, but certainly in Guangzhou, you could have a public space that says this powerful idea connects our 2 worlds in a profound way that began with the American-China trade that goes back to 1784. So this comes along in 1924, approximately. So you could sort of say, well, 220 years later, 30 years later, or whatever the math is, this is an amazing transformation of what it is to be connected between China and America.
Aside from his work in landscaping, Tom has family connections to this city. His ancestor, Paine Kimball, visited Guangzhou and took some rare photos, which today remain unpublished.
Just very briefly, so our 2 worlds were getting so close together that 100 years ago it was possible for an American woman on her honeymoon to pack a camera and come on a trip to Asia and spend weeks, several months I believe, in 1913 in China, taking hundreds if not thousands of photographs. And she had a very special camera. She would look this way, but it would take the picture that way. So she could take pictures of people without their knowing she's taking pictures of them. She got remarkable pictures, hundreds if not thousands of pictures from Guangzhou all the way up to Beijing.
What was her name?
And her name was Paine Kimball.
How many photos are there, roughly?
Several thousand. And so basically, I've got the contact sheet albums. My cousin has all the negatives. They've never been published. It's an archive waiting to be made public, because I think it is a very valuable record